this is Lee back once again for another video, and I finally completed my viewing of Shimmer 100. A lot of hullabaloo about this iPPV, but it's good to be watching Shimmer again after a little bit of a hiatus. Got a little burned out on wrestling, but I'm back, and of course, mere hours away from WrestleMania 34. That's another review for another video. But I took some notes as I was watching. I actually missed the first match and most of the second. I got a little spoilers, but I went back and watched the beginning and the end. I wasn't able to complete the end. I had to kind of come back, but it was well worth it. I would say overall a very good show. If you've never seen Shimmer before, you will enjoy this. I would say this is probably the best iPPV I've seen them do, with the possible exception of 53, kind of that, first big, extravaganza for the world. But it's, I have some other things to say about it, but it's better get a little comfortable as I review the iPPV Shimmer 100. This took place in Kenner, Louisiana, even though all the banners said New Orleans. Not too familiar with the territory, but there you go. And it was at this wrestling center. I gotta give them kudos. This was probably the best looking iPPV they've done. Even though the size of the venue for Shimmer 53 was so vast and amazing and, big. At the same time, the visual quality on this streaming iPPV was quite good. Very good lighting throughout. It was kind of darkened, but you could see the action very well. Very fluid, very high resolution. There was one camera where it was just a little bit whited out. Just a little bit. It looked like a haze. But the rest of it, not Daisy Haze, but the rest of it was very well shot. Good lighting. It looked like they spared no expense. This is probably the highest budget I've seen Shimmer looking that I can recall. They actually had, the video screen over the entrances where the wrestlers came in. Well, the one entrance. And then they had little side, like, tapestry-style video screens. I guess video screens are cheaper than they've ever been, but these little screens so that they could put little video graphics as each wrestler came in. And at first I thought, it'll just be one generic graphic, but actually everybody had their own little patterns, little art displays. So it was quite professional looking. Of course, they also had the custom turnbuckle covers that say Shimmer 100. Of course, the black WWN Live ring, quickly covered in little sparklies. I think some of the costumes worn by some of the wrestlers kind of, gave off some of this glitter, and people rolled around in it, and of course their bodies were covered with glitter because of it. So it's kind of goofy. Looks like they definitely saved some money, of course, by, these shows typically are like an hour and a half, but this one was 2 hours and 20 minutes after editing, of course, because, when you're watching it live, you can't really tell how long it's going to be. Keep the suspense going. They made it sound like it was going to be 2 hours and 15 minutes. It was 2:20, give or take. So, not a lot of preliminaries, not a lot of sound problems that plagued, other shows. Things went off without a hitch. I did notice, though, when I went back to watch the video-on-demand version, which was ready within about 8 hours, rather than having to wait 48 hours, as in the past, so they did a good job bringing it back quickly. The certain matches, it looked like it was going in fast motion. I mean, the audio was fine, but suddenly the action would kind of speed up. It looked like, when you're doing a little video player thing, instead of 1.00, it'd be like 1.25. It's just like a little bit quick. People are falling down a little bit too quick. So, but it didn't really disrupt my enjoyment of those shows. And of course, when watching it live, I didn't notice that. So I would say kudos to them. They definitely saved some money by not having any Joshi talent. There were no Japanese wrestlers shipped in for the show. Of course, the actual, usual Shimmer tapings in Berwyn will take place next week, and so this was just an iPPV, but it had a big feel to it. The venue size and everything, of course they darken it so you can't quite see who all is there, but it sort of resembled maybe like an arena show with Chikara. It seemed like they had a pretty decent sized crowd, or at least it didn't seem like the place was, empty. And the crowd was dead for a few, moments in pretty much each match, but they had a pretty good interaction. There were these, I'm sure it was only two guys, but they would always yell, "Thank you," after the announcer would say anything, whether it was, well, there'll be autographs available, afterwards, or, oh, this is blah, 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 and da-da-da, and they go, "Thank you." That was a little annoying, but the fans overall didn't really overstep things, occasionally sell something that you couldn't hear, and a couple of people would laugh at it, but, you didn't have the usual smocks, trying to ruin things. So that's my impression of the presentation. Very well done on the part of the Shimmer team. Dave Prazak doing commentary as usual, with Amber Gerdner also. They didn't appear on screen. There were no backstage segments. There were no video vignettes or anything. It was just Kevin Harvey doing the announcing in the ring. And then, of course, Amber Gerdner was swapped out for Veda Scott at certain points in the evening, with Dave Prazak on the commentary most of the time. And occasionally I would ignore the things they were saying to focus on the matches, because that's what you do live anyway. But not a bad job. Pretty entertaining. I enjoyed myself. I would recommend the show. The first match of Shimmer 100 was a tag team bout. It was Team Blue Nation, and of course the joke is they don't wear blue, they wear purple, of Charlie Evans, Jessica Troy. I couldn't read my own writing there. So Charlie Evans, of course, is, plump, and Jessica Troy is skinny, and so the two of them, they are heels, and I think they're both British. I could be wrong about that, but love Charlie Evans. She definitely has the over-the-top, kind of acting, and just a lovable heel, just great. And Jessica Troy, a little less to say about her, but the two of them working together as a heel team. And then, of course, the two of them against Fire and Nice. The pretty girls, they kind of remind me of Santana Garrett a little bit. Dressed very similarly, Fire and Nice. Britt Baker and Chelsea Green. It was kind of hard to tell them apart. They, look very similar outfits. If you look closely, though, Britt Baker, a little bit more gold on her outfit, gold and white. They had a pretty acceptable match all around. I didn't see a lot of sloppiness. Some of these matches, I will comment, there were a few botches, and some of the wrestlers, it just kind of looked like they kind of were a little bit off their game at times. And the crowd was polite, but the more experienced wrestlers, you could tell, because they would screw up a move and they would turn it into something else. It looked convincing, or they play it off as a joke, like, clumsiness, like Veda Scott did that later on. But I would say that this was an enjoyable match. I was rooting for the heel, and took the win, pinned Chelsea Green. Yes, so that was that. Not much more to say about it, but good way to get things. I mentioned Veda Scott. It's Veda Scott, Kelly Ann. Now, she's gone through a lot of name changes. It's not Kelly Ann English. It's not Kelly Ann. It's Kelly Ann. One name. And Zoe Lucas. Her name is Z-O-E, but they call her Zoe. Zoe Lucas on the commentary. So three of them, obviously heels. Veda Scott, playing her evil secretary. Of course, she wrestles. This was a trios match, so 3-on-3 tag team. Kelly Ann, Fiend Club, with her little skull pattern skirt tied around her waist, and just kind of her matter of fact, bullying not really a comic heel, just kind of does what she does. Enjoyable characters. And Zoe Lucas, kind of the reluctant one, maybe not as gorgeous as Brittany Knight, and maybe not as comedic as Kelly Skater, when she was healed, but still an enjoyable wrestler to watch. She kind of has a cheerleader physique, kind of good facial expressions and comedy. When you get wrestlers from other countries, generally you're getting very high quality wrestlers because they send the best, and they're having to work in an environment maybe they're not used to, and so they have to let their body language make up for any unfamiliarity. And some good moves back and forth. Kellyanne did a little flip through that looked really fluid. I don't go blow by blow with these matches, but there's definitely some things to watch out for. So I enjoyed this match a lot. Their opponents, of course, were Rhea O'Reilly. I hadn't seen her in a while. Now, she's always had an interesting physique, but looked like she put on more weight. Of course, maybe it's just the costume she was wearing. Not a criticism. She has her still half-shaved with the comb-over hair, bright blonde, and kind of Marilyn Monroe style makeup. Very glamorous looking, actually. I couldn't tell if she was injured. They played it up, with the commentary that she was injured, but, you never know with these things. She seemed to kind of recover from it later, but she didn't do that much in the match, I felt like. So, kind of missing the old Rhea O'Reilly, but at the same time, they've turned her face this time. They also had with her Kaylee Ray, of course. Top form always looks the same, with her bright red or purple hair, and her little violet outfit, her high-flying moves. And then Mia Yim, classic Mia Yim. She wore some red pants. Not as much showboating by Mia Yim this time. She kind of likes to throw out jokes and things and kind of play to the crowd, usually in her matches. But, it's a trios match, so everyone doesn't get much time to really shine. And I think this can probably cover for a lot of injuries. If there are people recovering, and they've got to do it all again in a week, so they're not going to maybe go all out. But I still enjoyed this match. A lot of different moves here and there. And it was kind of a foregone conclusion because I had seen the ending. I knew Mia Yim's team won. I just didn't see how they got there. But I definitely enjoyed the match overall. There was a moment when Kaylee Ray, Kellyanne had picked her up over her shoulders. They were in the turnbuckle. She was picking her up, and she dropped Kaylee Ray so that her head and her knees, landed on the turnbuckles, kind of plopped her on there. And then Mia Yim rolls through and kicks Kaylee Ray right in the gut. I thought, wait a minute, they're on the same team, and the commentary didn't even really say much about it. They just kind of glossed over, moved real past. I thought, oh, that's a botch. But what really happened is I had to watch it again. That's the nice thing about video on demand. You go back, because Kellyanne, after doing that move, had kind of sunk down. She was sitting on the ring, and Mia Yim actually rolled. They call it the cannonball. Lou Fister does this move where you kind of roll backwards and kind of smash into the person with your backside and your legs up in the air into their face. Well, she did that, and of course Kaylee Ray is still up on top, so Mia Yim's legs both, kick Kaylee Ray in the gut, and she just kind of shrugs it off. So, there were some mistakes like that. Hopefully not too many bad injuries. They also mentioned that Mia Yim, injured her knee or her ankle. She was kind of hobbling on it. I'm sure she had to put ice on it later. Real injuries do happen in wrestling, even though it's choreographed and fake, because it is physical, things can go wrong. You can fall off the stage and break your leg in the theater, So, enjoyable match. Moving on, I took extensive notes. It's been a little while since I've done this. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed getting back into Shimmer. I've just been busy doing other things and been distracted, been bored. But, there is good wrestling out there, and so I'm excited to see, that Shimmer is still putting on good quality productions, still attracting good wrestlers, and there's still fans that appreciate it. So, with so much WWE coverage of their women, I kind of feel like, is Shimmer becoming like the secondary women's NXT for WWE? But really it's not, because NXT, there's so much limitations placed on them because they have to showcase everyone. And there are certain wrestlers that they're pushing really heavily because these are the people you're supposed to like, and so you can't give everyone a chance. And so a lot of times they bring in the Shimmer wrestlers just so they can get destroyed, flattened by someone else. But once in a while they'll grab someone to help. And it's not always, the pretty girls, with fit a certain body type and look. Ever since the Mae Young Classic, a lot of WWE fans, I think, finally know what Shimmer is. They've heard of it. They show all kinds of footage. They show Sarah Amato, Sarah Del Rey. I CNN article about all this. And of course, CNN famously beaten down by Donald Trump in the ring, outside the ring, little joke. But, people know now who Asuka is. People know a little bit of the history if they're paying attention. That Shimmer really brought a lot of these wrestlers up, from through the indies. It is an independent wrestling promotion, and into the big leagues, so they say. But really, as good as it is to be on the big stage with the big budgets, the WWE exposure and everything, really a lot of the best matches were in the independents, in Shimmer, and Shine, and some of these other places, Bellatrix, and Chick Fight, Chikara, Ring of Honor. Women of Honor is actually coming up. I've actually seen they're doing lots more stuff, and I've kind of missed out last couple of months. So I might be doing a video on that one of these days, if I can get through all the material to watch it. Another Women of Honor DVD set would be great, because they did one back when it was Daisy Hayes and Mischief and Hiroya Matsumoto and people like that. Yes, so anyway, where was I? Oh yes, so the next match is Kimberly. She returns. Of course, more people know who she is from the WWE, exposure she got. Kimberly looks like she put on some weight, and this was kind of a trend I saw. I think things go through trends. It looks like a lot of the women wrestlers, they all happen to get their hair dyed a certain color for one taping, or it seems like everyone lost like a ton of weight and is very svelte looking. This one, a couple of people looked a little heavier. So, that's not a criticism. It's wrestling. You do what you have, work with what you've got. It's a little more believable to see someone who has a little bit of meat on their bones rather than, looks like they're starving. You hear about these wrestlers and MMA fighters that cut weight, and they do it so drastically they get sick, they pass out, it damages their health. And of course, gaining tons of weight isn't necessarily healthy either. But it is wrestling, so they don't have enforced weight classes, and so they can do what they want. But Kimberly, very confident. She has been heavier before, and then she kind of lost some weight, and she looked kind of different. Now she's kind of back to a fighting weight, so to speak. This is all perception. I don't have a scale, and of course when they announce wrestlers' weights anyway, they kind of fudge the data. Of course, I haven't heard them announce the weight of women wrestlers in a long time. If they ever did, not supposed to ask age or weight of a woman in the Western world. Not polite. But anyway, Kimberly, much beloved, more of a face now, since she's left the Kimber Bombs, Cherry Bomb. Not so shrill, but fun to watch. She didn't look as much like Lufisto this time. When she did a Mae Young Classic, her outfit reminded me a lot of that, kind of a Princess Jasmine from Disney, Aladdin kind of thing. But anyway, she was up against Samantha Heights, Lost Girl. It's like, what, she loses all the time. She wandered into the arena, get beat down, little girl, little pale thing with, dark hair and green. No, it's like the Lost Boys, the Lost Girl, Peter Pan. I think I've explained this before, and Samantha Heights, she has to climb the turnbuckle to make herself look tall. So kind of a, underdog that people love. You know, um, I'd say a pretty decent match. Some sloppy moves here and there I felt like from Samantha Heights. You can't really blame her too much. I felt like a lot of the show was designed to have, the more veteran women against the more less seasoned, the noobs, and kind of put them through their paces and kind of put them over a little bit. And that's kind of a thing that they do in wrestling. Make the young talent, put them over, it'll make them look good. But don't just make it too easy on them either. So it's alright. The crowd really cheered for Kimberly. But in the end, let's see. Did I write down who won? I'm pretty sure Kimberly won, so if I'm wrong about that, forgive me. I was pretty tired, but I did enjoy the show. Next match we had, I was so excited by this point, Lufisto back with Hudson Envy, the two of them on a heel tag team. And they were going up against Leva Bates and Delilah Doom. This was quite enjoyable. Leva Bates and Delilah Doom dressed as Double Dragon, and Dave Prazak, to his credit, finally got it. He didn't mention it at first, but they were playing a rendition of the classic arcade video game from 1987, Double Dragon. Of course, one of these remixes, probably from one of these remakes, maybe Double Dragon Neon or something like that. But anyway, she was wearing the classic blue Billy Lee. And then Delilah Doom, we know her exercise. She had a kind of a white Olympic wrestling kind of outfit underneath, and because she strips off the costume for the actual match and wears a regular leotard. But at the beginning, at least, she came out in the red, Jimmy Lee. And they didn't do a lot of like Double Dragon style like moves or anything, just kind of the typical usual stuff they do. But it was fun. Now Lufisto, she had kind of a black outfit, and then she took it off. She had kind of a gray, white. So they had a black and white kind of theme. Hudson Envy, a little tougher, a little less stoic, a little less comedic. They definitely did well. And of course, I'd seen some behind-the-scenes stuff. Lufisto, had gone through some medical issues. I guess she announced that she had cancer. So, a lot of fans concerned about her health and well-being. But apparently, she's gone through her procedures. And, of course, these wrestlers, they share whatever they feel to share with the public. But it sounds like she's doing better. So, she's not dying, not yet. And she definitely showed no signs of slowing down in the ring. Did well. And I think Lufisto, she goes through periods where she, her character changes, her appearance changes, and sometimes she's a little off on a game. But she was definitely all cylinders firing. She's happy to be there. There was just one moment, one small criticism for Lufisto. I hate to do this, but she was just slammed turnbuckle like she's loopy, but you could see her, chomping away on her gum, and then she gets kicked in the face. So it's kind of like when these wrestlers, they get beaten within an inch of their lives, and they take time to like fix their hair. It's like, why would you do that if you're about to lose consciousness? I mean, it kind of breaks the realism. So she's sitting there chomping away on her gum, like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, kicked in the face. So, but one small criticism of an otherwise wonderful match, very enjoyable. Hudson Envy really improved, really good. I've always liked her, kind of style and everything, but she's definitely going much more for the street brawler rather than like a Power Ranger or kind of a, Joshi Light, or I'm not really sure what she was going for before. It was fine, but she just has a different character. And it's probably, going along with Lufisto. And Lufisto is kind of settled into the wounded owl, street brawler, biker chick, bad girl kind of thing. Rather than, I don't know, I wasn't quite sure what she was going for. It's kind of like when Mercedes Martinez was face for so long. She went heel. At first, it's kind of like she just was kind of getting her bearings, like she wasn't comfortable yet. But then after a while, it just came very natural, felt very natural. So I feel like Mephisto's back in that, because really she was a face, kind of a mischievous child, kind of character for so long. And it was kind of jarring to have her go heel, but she does well. Um, I think there's a couple of sloppy moves here and there, but really these women are, two very experienced women kind of guiding things. So I think they did a good job with this tag team match. I definitely enjoyed it. So it was for the Shimmer Tag Team Championship. I mentioned that. I didn't even realize. Sometimes I forget because so much time goes by between some of these shows that you kind of forget. Well, who's champion now? But Delilah Doom and Leva Bates, tag champs, they retained. But I didn't really mind, even though I was rooting for the heels. It was still enjoyable. Okay, next match we have cheerleader Melissa. And she's back again, of course, looking great. Always the OG. She had kind of a red dress kind of thing. Little bit plunging neckline and kind of a short bottom, but she looked good, and she was with a Shotzi Blackheart, with a bright green, neon green hair and a Viking helmet and all that. A little less over the top. Of course, Shotzi Blackheart's always over the top, yelling and jumping up and down and just kind of being really trying her hardest to get attention. But it's kind of like Delilah Doom, just a little bit toned down, just a little bit. Maybe she doesn't have to try quite so hard to get attention. But the two of them, Melissa and Shotzi, going head to head. I felt like, this was a little bit more competitive. I think in some previous matches, it feels like Melissa's just kind of like going through the motions, like, okay, well, I have a list of moves that I'm going to do on this Zubi, and after all those moves are done, then I win. Just kind of very by the numbers. Not a criticism, but just kind of like comes across as the veteran. Well, I'm just going to take you down, and I don't even have to try. I'll just kind of go through everything, and you're done. Very scientific. Whereas this time, it was kind of like, okay, she really does have to fight for it. Shotzi, has been the Phoenix Arise champion, kind of their Shimmer's developmental. So she's a serious threat. She's kind of coming into her own. So the two of them had a competitive match. I enjoyed it. Shotzi Blackheart was defeated by cheerleader Melissa. But actually, it was a very competitive match. I've said this before. It didn't feel like it was going to be, Melissa had to win. She was going to just take her apart scientifically. I think she definitely had to struggle. The two of them went back and forth. And really, it looked like Shotzi was going to win. So it was kind of a good way that they did it. She got up on the turnbuckle and she was going to do a big move. As Vince would say, what a maneuver. She did a swanton bomb or dive type of Jeff Hardy-esque move. But Melissa got out of the way. And of course, that's enough to screw things over for her and defeat her. So, good match, great match between the two of them. I'd say it's probably one of the best. I like Shotzi's character, but I think this is probably the best, most enjoyable match I've seen with her yet. So Melissa definitely put her over this time. So very good between the two of them. Enjoyable. Next, we had Deonna Purrazzo. I always forget about poor Deonna. She seems to work hard. She's smaller, but, she's good physique. Very confident. And dark hair, kind of a reddish-black outfit. A little bit of yellow. And against Madison Eagles. Hadn't seen her in a while. She was wearing all black, and she had kind of a hair and a top knot. Much less of the comedy. Much less of the fierceness, just kind of like a smirk on her face and kind of doing what she does. She has a leg brace on one of her legs, so she didn't do as much move-wise, but good to see. And of course, the two of them, definitely have some guns. So they had a nice scientific, technical match, as they say, which is kind of a way of saying, a lot of chain wrestling, a lot of holds. Not necessarily a lot of, top rope maneuvers and, flying strikes, that type of thing. I kind of miss some of the old arrogant Madison Eagles with kind of jokes and things, not over the top comedy, but when she was champion the first time, that was kind of the height of her game. I felt like, the height of her threat. She wasn't the cowardly heel, but she was dangerous. She was threatening. Of course, coming back from injury, coming back from a bit of a hiatus, it makes sense that she kind of has to come through. But I think the fans definitely appreciated her. And Deonna Purrazzo, gets put over by Madison Eagles. But after that, it had to be Madison. And I'm glad she won, because I definitely like her. But, Purrazzo, kudos. Always rubs off, going up against a legend like that. Now we have Toni Storm coming in. This is the one exception to the sort of that rule of the noobs versus the veterans kind of thing, or the intermediaries versus the old school. Toni Storm, of course, up-and-comer, was in the Mae Young Classic, got pretty far, and she has the little black makeup under the eye. Now, according to, she has kind of the rock and roll personality. According to Dave Prazak on the commentary, Toni Storm is the only wrestler that we saw on the show not be appearing on the Berwyn tapings. Now, I don't know if, what that says about other wrestlers that might be appearing. I would certainly miss the Joshi, but, I won't be there that live weekend, so I'm kind of disappointed because, some of these wrestlers really showed out, and, some that I didn't care for that much before have really improved, such that I would love to see them wrestle again soon. But unfortunately, I won't be there live, so like the rest of you, I'll have to wait a year or whatever it takes to see the next one. Hopefully, they didn't spend all their money on this iPPV and they can get enough to, pull off a great show like they always do. Anyway, she went up against, let me see in my notes here, Toni Storm. Oh, yes. Nicole Matthews. Now, Nicole, always a very wiry wrestler, very skinny, very svelte. I think from some of her earliest appearances, she just was kind of like, is she gonna be okay? Is she gonna fight? Not like Daisy Hayes skinny, but and not like Kelly Skater, but she's definitely small. But what her greatest strength was, just her facial expressions, her just whininess, her annoying, underhanded villainy. Nicole Matthews, just great. I think she even overshadowed Portia Perez. The two of them. Of course, Portia was on her way out due to injury, so she probably let Nicole kind of take over more. But the two of them, a great heel team. But Nicole Matthews, great. But anyway, it looked like she put on a considerable amount of weight, so maybe she looks healthier. But she had a very sparkly outfit. But yeah, she just looks like a normal woman now. Not so much like I don't know, like an acrobat or something. But that's okay, once again, on the show, just some changing physical appearances of these wrestlers. But she pulled it off well. She has this extremely sparkly, like almost disco ball style outfit. Not quite as over-the-top comic heel as she is, not has been in the past, not quite so arrogant, but always a pleasure to see Nicole Matthews. So she kind of popped in and out of WWE a couple of times. She was an understudy, I think, alternate for the Mae Young Classic. A couple of different things. But the two of them, I thought, of course, Toni Storm, they really want to promote WWE and everything, and Toni Storm in such great shape and everything. So, of course, Nicole Matthews is not going to win. But at the same time, I was kind of rooting for Nicole. Kind of a fan. So, but anyway, the two of them definitely went back and forth. And there was a little bit of the old Nicole kind of slipping through some of her snide comments to the referee, some of her complaints and things. It was enjoyable. It's always good to see, certain wrestlers just kind of doing what they do. And, it's always look back because I don't feel like, I can only see what's current. WWE, they always promote going back in the archives. Shimmer does too. Shimmer's brought back a lot of their old volumes. I think 1 through 25 or something like that. Wrestle, and there's Fight TV, and of course WWN Live. You know, they promoted the heck out of those services during the show. So good. I hope more fans discover them. So decent match, I would say. And this was Toni Storm's Shimmer debut that was mentioned a couple of times. She'd never actually appeared before. You know, when I was watching the Mae Young Classic, I almost forgot that it was WWE. You know, at times. Except they kept moving right along. You know, WWE is being infiltrated more and more by the Shimmer talent, and I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. As long as they don't ruin these characters, as long as they let them shine. There's that other shimmer, like a girl should now, you know. Shimmer, sparkle while you can. But you know, it's just, I think any of that exposure is good because they really are talented, and they really show what you can do with character and with moves and just everything like that. It doesn't have to be so boring and cookie cutter as it has been in the past, sadly. Next match, Tessa Blanchard. Now, this was a bit of a surprise. I think I'd gotten a little bit of a heads up that Tessa was going to be there. I thought, that's strange. I thought for sure Tessa Blanchard was quitting. Like, she was done with Shimmer. She was leaving. She even had she kind of teared up and said goodbye. You know, just kind of under the radar at the end of her match in Berwyn. And I thought, well, maybe that just means that she thought she was going to WWE, and she did briefly, but she maybe it fell through, and she's coming back. You know, I'm sure that was a disappointment for her if that's really what happened. But you know, as fans, we're blessed by her presence. She's improved by leaps and bounds. When she first started, I didn't really like her. I thought, she's just going to be the cowardly heel that we've seen a million times before, and she's a noob, and she's not very good. It's all Vanessa Craven, but really, she just, you know, she was gone for a little bit. You miss a couple of shows, and all of a sudden, she's, you know, right up there with the best of them. You know, just full of energy and charisma. Really improved. That little girl, she said, "Oh, you look like Alexa Bliss." She kind of does, with dark hair, but obviously she's doing her own thing. Diamonds are forever. But Tessa Blanchard is back. So I thought, well, you know, Amazing Kong did appear on a Shimmer iPPV, even though she'd been gone from Berwyn for years and she never came back to Berwyn. So maybe that goodbye was supposed to tell the audience that she wasn't coming to Berwyn, to that venue, to that crowd. And she'd appear, you know, maybe a one-off on this iPPV. But in any case, I was glad to see her. I've become a fan of Tessa Blanchard. Good for her. And she was going up against Shazza McKenzie. Now, poor Shazza. I think, you know, she was this lovable goof back when she and Veda Scott were on a face team. And I feel like the last couple appearances of Shazza McKenzie, you know, should have been good, but somehow they just weren't as good as they should have been. She just didn't have the charisma. She was just kind of off a game. I don't know what it is, but it just wasn't working. I just wasn't feeling it. You know, and to be fair, in the last live show I was at, you know, poor Shazza, you know, her opponent was supposed to be Allison Kay, you know, Sienna and TNA. And Allison had that unfortunate accident where she cut her forehead, you know, just was bleeding profusely, and they had to stop the match right there. So Shazza was kind of robbed of what could have been, you know, a great match, you know, being put over by this more experienced talent. So, you know, not entirely her fault, perhaps. But I would say she made up for it because, you know, Shazza, I was kind of like, she's not going to be doing very well. And Tessa, of course, you know, has my respect, but Shazza definitely showed out in this match. She definitely showed the heart, because they gave her the Heart of Shimmer Championship, and I thought she didn't really deserve it. Just because Allison Danger thought she deserved it. Why? Because she got beat down? A lot of people got beat down. I think it's kind of like when Madison Eagles got the championship belt on a fluke. You know, she'd been a cheater all this time, and she didn't really earn it. But once she got it, it's like it turned her into, she had this change into an actual fighting champion. And you actually believed that she was a serious threat, and that it would be hard, if not impossible, to stop her. And Shazza finally, she got the actual heart of Shimmer. So I don't know what it was. If it was just the right time, if it was her, if it was the writers, whatever. But it worked this time. I finally believed. If I hadn't seen anything before, I would have thought, of course she's the Heart of Shimmer champion. You know, Nicole Savoy had it, she has it. So whatever you did, Shaza, keep it up. Um, I was actually impressed, and she had a little pink outfit with a little heart on the front, and it was just, she definitely showed she had some fire and some power, despite looking like someone who really couldn't hurt a fly, like she was just going to do ballet or something. And then of course Tessa Blanchard, the two of them. And of course I thought, well, Shaza just got it. She can't lose it so soon. And she retains, but gosh, heck of a match between the two of them. So, those goofy guys in the audience who kept responding to the announcer with "thank you," I'm just going to take what they said and say it to those two wrestlers, "thank you." So good. So that's what I had to say about that match. Moving on, let's see. We're already at the end, my goodness. Yep, this is it. Nicole Savoy coming back, without her leg braces, wearing purple, is the Shimmer champion. I liked Nicole Savoy when she first came out, and I thought, okay, she's a noob, she's a heel, so of course she's not going to make it far in that chick fight tournament, and she didn't get very far, but, I was rooting for her. I liked her right away. I didn't know anything about her before. I think I'd heard the name, and that was it, but Nicole Savoy, great. And they really pushed her hard, and I think that was the right thing to do. She definitely had the combination of spunk, high-flying abilities, and then they had the whole thing with the trifecta with Mercedes, and, this kind of spilled over into the Mae Young Classic a little bit. You had Mercedes as this sort of motherly figure, but she's going to destroy, Shayna Baszler, which, I got to watch her now. These wrestlers that go to WWE, they kind of disappear, so it's sad to see them go, but you wish them well. But anyway, Mercedes Martinez, her opponent, and of course, love Mercedes, always have. She's just been great as a face, great as a heel. She's worked so hard in Shimmer. She and Melissa, just, you can tell, their love for the craft of wrestling, the sport, the art, the theater. And I think, the both of them, I think definitely Mercedes is better on the mic than Melissa. Melissa's best when she's just kind of off the cuff. Whenever she has to do scripted promos, it just doesn't work for me. It just comes across as awkward and weird. I think she had one good promo I've seen in all the Shimmer history. So poor Melissa, just let her just be unscripted. But Mercedes, you believe it. Just little gestures, little things. She kind of just kind of flexed on the referee just at some point, just a little side, just a little moment. She just loves it. She eats it up, and all of her moves just look brutal. She just adapts to whatever, because she's had many injuries as well. I thought she was going to retire for sure a couple of times, but she came back, and she, started a family and everything, so she comes back, and you just believe that Melissa is a credible threat. And the two of these wrestlers have worked together before, so for the Shimmer Championship, of course, Mercedes is going to come back. And you just didn't sense, there was the hatred, but it was just overall very good between the two of them. And this match went on quite a while, and I had to leave. I couldn't watch the ending of it. I had to go back and I rewatched the fight, and I enjoyed it just as much, if not more, to see the end. And I thought, well, of course, Nicole Savoy is going to retain, and she did. But what a journey. What a journey she's had. And such a joy to see both of them. And the fact that they're both going to be in Berwyn this weekend makes me even more sad that I'll be missing it. But I'll certainly look forward to that digital versatile disc, release of the 4 volumes a year from now. They really got to get cracking on those DVDs. But it is what it is. It's an indie promotion. They don't have, the budget of a WWE, maybe not even of a Ring of Honor. So just gotta do what they do. Yep, and TNA is still out there, Impact Wrestling, and I think, I can't remember now, Lucha Underground, I think they were off for a while, but then they confirmed a new season was going to be coming. You know, there's too much wrestling out there. I think a person could get burned out trying to watch everything. I mean, my goodness, you're going to watch 5 hours of WrestleMania tonight? Yeah, right. I'm going to skip around. I'm going to rewind, fast forward. But I do plan to watch at least the women's matches and probably the main event and, give my thoughts, eventually. I don't know if I'll get to it this weekend, but hopefully by next weekend is my plan. So, thanks for watching. I would say for sure that Shimmer 100 is definitely one of the greats. It might be the best. Well, I can't really say it's the best. The production values are definitely the best that I've ever seen on a Shimmer iPPV. But there still were just some really, really touches on Shimmer 53 that you don't get here. But I'd say this is the second best. Definitely second best, possibly even on par with that first gold standard for iPPV. And as the Shimmer show goes, it feels a little short. I would say maybe 4 really good matches out of the 8, and the other 4 weren't bad. There's a little bit of sloppiness with some of the newer wrestlers, but they recovered well. A couple of moments I forgot to mention. Veda Scott, she did a cartwheel at one point. She fell down, and Ray O'Reilly, this is an earlier match, of course. Ray O'Reilly kind of was just like, what? She kind of reacted like, these are professionals. You make a mistake, they just roll with it. This is called ad-lib. This is classic theater. And then Veda Scott later on did, repeated the move. She did it right, and she was like cheering for herself, and then she just got clobbered because she wasn't paying attention. So it was funny. It came across funny and good. I think Kaylee Ray also picked up something in her hand, and she kind of showed it to the other wrestler as they were leaving at the end of the match. I wasn't sure if that was like her tooth fell out, or maybe it was like a nose ring or something, piece of jewelry that broke off. But it might have been a tooth. So anyway, ouch. Hope she can get that reinserted. I did notice Mercedes Martinez, putting her fingers in her mouth and kind of. I always thought that was acting. She was doing like, oh my gosh, she hit me so hard, I gotta make sure my teeth are all in place. I think she has a gold tooth because I have seen pictures and promos and things where she's smiling and it looks like there's a little gap. So I think she's an artificial tooth, and she probably is like checking to make sure it's still there. And she either lost it or maybe just removed it because it's like, well, it's gonna fall out anyway. But I noticed her feeling for it again, so I guess the tooth is back. The tooth. Remember the tooth. The tooth. Anyway, not the truth, the tooth. So, getting silly now. Shimmer 100, definitely recommended. Check it out if you like women's wrestling, if you like Shimmer. If you've never watched Shimmer before, I think this would actually be a good place to start. You don't get a lot of commentary characters, and I doubt they'll have any video packages for the eventual digital virtual disc release, but it sure would be nice. Still, worthwhile if you're not familiar. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully in a week or so, if not sooner. Thanks, bye-bye. Oh, and happy